Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the St. Kitts Band Association, I want to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Today marks a significant occasion, the first official press conference of the newly formed St. Kitts Band Association. This association was created to bring our bands and musicians together under one umbrella to amplify their voices, strengthen collaboration, and chart a path for the continued growth of the music industry. Today, you will hear more about the vision, the mission, and the goals of this body, as well as the exciting plans that lie ahead. We are grateful to the members of the media for your presence and coverage, as your support helps us to share this story to the wider community. Without further delay, I invite President of the St. Kitts Band Association, Gregory Hobson, to deliver a few remarks and officially set the tone for the press conference.
Good evening to all, everybody who is joining the stream live. Like we said, this is our new association, and we look forward for this opportunity to share our journey. I'd like first to say big respect to my colleagues that make up the union. We'd like to have an introduction first of all. So I'd like each individual to introduce themselves, starting with the Vice President, Mr. Wingrove Hicks.
Good evening, good afternoon, good day, in relation to wherever you might be at this time. My name is Wingrove Hicks Williams, and I'm the Vice President of the newly formed St. Kitts Band Association, and also the representative of the GM Band, the GrandMasters Band.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gregory Warner, here representing the Small X Band.
Yeah, good evening all. Keith Legaskin Gishard representing Xcess Band.
Gavin Charles, I am the Treasurer and Secretary, also representing the Upset Squad.
Good evening, everyone, members of the media. My name is Brandon Cranston, representing ASAP Band.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shervin White, representing the Kollision Band.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gregory Mention Hobson, representing the Sugar Band, and also in this light, representing all the bands.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll now open the floor to the media to ask any questions. We ask that you please state your name and the media house that you represent before posing your questions.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Kent Fuentes, ZIZ News. Strength in unity. How important was it for you all to come together to form a voice to represent all the bands of St. Kitts?
We'll take that question. Over the course of probably 2 to 3 years, I think bands somewhat have been in discussions with each other in terms of the challenges that each band may face. One of the things on the agenda was obviously Carnival, which is basically the biggest local festival that we could have. We'll call it a festival. We realized that with a collective effort in terms of bringing about the bands in terms of an association or / union, one voice would probably work better than single entities trying to do it. So that was one of the reasons that we decided to take this course of action and try to formulate a band association.
Now, you mentioned Carnival. Coming together, how important, what some of the plans you may have as an association with Carnival right around the corner?
Well, based upon certain of our challenges we've met with certain stakeholders, we spoke on a number of issues, things that created challenges for bands. We're still in talk with those entities. So basically, we're here and we're there, but we're making progress and strides towards that.
What are some of the challenges you think when you face individually that now as a group you could now unite and voice together, as the case may be?
Well, I think anyone here could speak on that. I will let Mr. Hicks speak on that.
Challenges we face as a group, whenever we need to get anything done, there are always conflicting ideas. For instance, Kollision may have an idea that is different to small acts, that is different to grandmasters, but together we speak with one voice. We actually we can pool ideas together, select the best idea or a combination of ideas that we could move forward with. And that is the importance of an association or a union in achieving its goals.
There'll be persons from the outside looking in at Carnival, seeing a united front. How does that help, you think, raise the profile of what you bring for Carnival?
I do not know if I'm preempting your question, right? But many persons, when they think about a united front, most people think about the revelry or the road revelry amongst bands, and they wonder if that's going to be a lost case. Not at all. The revelry is still there, the fun, the excitement, but with respect.
That's right. Again, just looking at some of the organizations you may have to negotiate now with, this now puts you all, I guess, in a better position to do so.
Certainly, certainly. As a matter of fact, as the president disclosed earlier, we already met with stakeholders, and due to our collective conversations, we already started making some headway, which would be revealed soon to the general public.
And as best as I can ask, what message do you think this level of unity would send?
Well, let me answer that question this way. We all know the importance of unity, and we know the importance of disunity. We have been seeing it around us. And we see what happens when one unite and when one fail to unite or disunite. When you disunite, you fall. And this is something we've been experiencing in recent time nationally.
All right, I think I'm good. See Andre reach, so.
And just to add to that, based on the question that was asked previously, the message that it would send only to, not only just to say that the bands are united, is an example of what can happen today in society for other persons to understand how to work together collectively to achieve a common goal and basically set your objectives. One of the main objectives of the St. Kitts Band Association is to actually preserve the culture of St. Kitts Band music, and we are working effortlessly right now to prepare ourselves for the carnival season, and not only just for carnival, but 365 days a year. St. Kitts Band music is appreciated and we explore different avenues to take our music to a regional and a more international level, further than we have already made it individually. So this is a time to do so collectively. So that is a message that we would send not only to stakeholders, but also to fans to understand that working together is the bigger picture.
Carla Berridge. There are some bands who are established, who have been around for a long time. I want to ask the younger bands, how do you see your bands benefiting from being a part of this association specifically?
Since I have the mic already, I'll take that question. I think it's very important for us as younger bands to also be a part of this, because the journey would have been paved by the bands who would have been around for 30, 40 years, and the experience is like no other. They would definitely know what the challenges were, where the strengths were, where we can improve on, and also in anything to do with sustainability, the future of anything is important. So knowing where it came from and knowing where we're going is very important as well. So I think collectively, again, we could also work together to shape the future of Xcess Band music.
He said everything that I was about to say. But just to add to where he left off, I think this is a great opportunity for us as younger bands. I like to say the word younger because it's not really a question of size, but the number of years we've been around. Now, I think between Xcess, ASAP, and Upset Squad, we've been around 4 to 5 years. And the other bands have been around 30, 40, 20, 23 years. Now, I think this is a good opportunity now that we are together to pull each other as one unified front. So now, as Mr. Mention said, we will have the opportunity to feature Upset Squad with the Sugar Band, on future collaborations, which of course will improve the overall product of St. Kitts and Nevis. So I think it's a real plus for all of us. Keith Lee?
Well, to top off what Brandon and Gavin said, it means a lot to the younger bands because as growing up, you hear about the small acts, the GrandMasters, and the NuVybes. So now you could say we're in the same room, we're in the same battlefield. So it's a plus for all of us, and we hope for the best.
Okay. So I know Carnival is coming up, so all the bands are looking toward that. But apart from that, does the association have any plans to engage the diaspora and international music markets?
With that being said, one of our, or maybe the major objective of the association at this point in time is to promote local music or promote our local genre and also to establish a permanent name. Most of us would be aware that the genre that we market are known locally as Wilders. That's the local term, Wilders. And the slow version, good, is known as Slow Pep. We are seeking a more appropriate name, which would be decided on. That is one aspect of, or one objective of the association, and also to put more effort into marketing our local genre. Some people might wonder, what is the local genre? Think about Trinidad. Trinidad has calypso that has transcended into soca, powered soca, groovy soca. Just like Jamaica, they would have had a ska that transformed into rock steady and then into reggae and dancehall. Right, there would always be transformation. So even though we come up with a name that might be more appropriate, as we go along, there might be some form of transformation. Just like how there is transformation in the music. You had calypso. The calypso in the days of Bomber was not the same calypso in the days of Sparrow. Sparrow and Kitchener did some transformation. Then you had another form of transformation that came from people like Lord Shorty and David Rudder. And then you still had another form, recently, another form of transformation by Marshall Montano and persons of his era. And that would happen also with what we call Wilders and Slow Pep, right? So we are seeking to put more effort into promoting our music and to find something that would better associate the genre of music that we produce. And when we say the music, not just bands, but also artists that produce the local genre. We won't be promoting soul. Soul is already promoted by Americans, right? Or we won't be promoting zouk. That is already done by Guadeloupeans, Wilders, Slow Pip.
Okay. What would have to happen for the band association to say we have been successful? How will you measure success?
How we measure success? I think once bands, the association sets agendas and follow through consistently, that's good enough for me. I mean, you can't always control everything, every outcome, but I think if we consistently continue to work on all the agendas, all the goals that we want to achieve, that's success enough for me. Just the bare trial of an association and the attempt is a success for me because it's something that never been done. So, congrats to everybody, all the colleagues.
Just to elaborate on what mentioned said, to me, what is deemed as a success to me is simply is to defeat our challenges. I know we may not be able to defeat everything, but most of them. And for us to be here together, that's already a success, a big one. So moving forward, we know there's more and better things to come. Yeah, that's simple, my answer.
Andre Huey, SK Newsline, and TVC Channel 40. I have two questions. I know I missed a good portion. Apologies for coming late. I had another engagement. Just to piggyback on the question my colleague asked earlier about what the band association will be doing outside of Carnival. Usually the criticism sometimes of Xcess music is that it's Carnival music, and after Carnival it's no longer relevant. Some people say that. How will you ensure the relevance of the music produced by the bands, especially around Carnival time, in your promotional efforts throughout the year? And second question, I know it's Xcess Band Association, but will there be any association with NuVybes? With bands from NuVybes be able to be part of the association?
I really was supposed to answer the first question, but you're troubling a double question. What was the first question again? The promotion. Things like the association collectively had ideas about even bands, we as bands doing collaborations. Things like music videos, things of that nature that could really market our brand. Another thing is important is having our music on live streaming platforms. That's something that I've heard that people on the outside have said that they think it's music, but there's not enough think it's music on the live streaming platforms, like, for instance, Trinidad. So that's one of the areas that we realize that we need to be diligent about. No problem. So this is exactly the reason why we would want to do collaborations. If you realize, if you listen to Boya, is different songs, but is one style. So we have different entities, but if you could identify Xcess music with a particular sound and style, that is what we're looking at. As to the question about associations in Xcess, and we'll give it this one.
Yes, as we said, it's a newly formed band, Xcess Band Association, but we intend to categorize bands. As a matter of fact, we have been receiving many requests from bands of varied nature. String bands ask about the association. The big drum, yes. Small ensembles. So it is our intention to have a category. And as we go forward, we said, besides starting from January, we'll implement categories and start accepting. Now, the NuVybes, specific question. Certainly, we are going to accept bands from NuVybes. If we are changing the name, no. We can name St. Kitts Band Association and still have NuVybes bands, right? Nothing at all is wrong with that.
Yes, I think it is very important to piggyback on what you said in terms of categorizing the groups, as we realize that a lot of those bands, like string bands, the hotel bands, so to speak, wouldn't be faced with the same challenges that we as live bands would be faced with. So definitely we'll have to be categorized.
Are there plans to collaborate with government, private sector, or cultural bodies?
I think that is very important, and as any association, it is important to reach out to different stakeholders, and who you would have mentioned are definitely on a list of stakeholders that we should be in contact with. Specifically for the fact that not just bands alone can do it all. We are a nation. We're supposed to work collectively to achieve better outcomes for everybody. So we definitely will be doing stakeholder engagement leading up to Carnival with that short term in mind, and then the longer term is to reach out to touch as many persons as much as possible. So the Band Association will be having a fleet of activities, but primarily because of the hour that we're at right now, it would mostly be geared towards Carnival and preparation for Carnival. And then the new year, we will see some pretty intricate activities taking place.
Can we get any examples of those activities?
Okay, well, you mentioned speaking to different stakeholders, so we definitely would have to reach out to like the ministries of culture, the creative economies, the security forces, even as it relates to education, to get music more involved in schools and that type of stuff. So where we can partner with different entities to facilitate workshops, even for our personal development as musicians, as we represent different bands, for the members of bands to get proper training, proper development. We internally have resources that we can utilize, but also we would reach out to external partners that could always enhance what we're trying to achieve.
So in defining the band association, as we look across the table, we see bands, as the Vice President put it, wireless bands. Is the association just for wireless bands?
Certainly not. But we are not promoting jazz. We are not promoting Western art. We are promoting wireless. And shortly, a question I think that was posed by Mr. Huey about other bands joining the association or NuVybes bands. Someone just sent me a WhatsApp message asking why we would not change the name or alter the name. I do not think it's necessary. Reasons: you could be from NuVybes and in the St. Kitts Band Association. I am a client of the Bank of NuVybes. It's not the Bank of St. Kitts NuVybes, but I am a client of the Bank of NuVybes.
Okay.
Would it be a particular song to look for to say?
Good afternoon, one and a tough house sound representing Win FM Media.
Afternoon.
Somebody posed the question about a particular song to say, St. Kitts genre of Boilers. in the future, would it have a particular sound? So let's say I'm a foreigner, don't know about St. Kitts music. Would it be a particular sound to say, okay, this is St. Kitts genre of Voilas, to say like how we got Buyan and how we got Antigua music genre, so we could pinpoint this is St. Kitts Voilas pattern?
Huh? Well, definitely that is why we are trying to come together, and in collaborations we will reach to that point of that sound that we're trying to push out as that St. Kitts sound. It's not every entity will have the same style, but we want, when you hear it, you could identify with St. Kitts.
That was just my question.
It's just like you could identify with the Boyan. They got one thing you could hear. Poo, 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 Kangshell, you know that's Dominica. So things like that nature is what we will try to do within the sound to put more identity to the music. Yes.
All right, no problem. That's just my question.
And just to add to that question as well, I think that the question posed an opportunity to highlight that St. Kitts already has a unique stone. That when you hear it, you know it's St. Kitts. I mean, we also inspire neighboring islands like Statia, St. Martin, in the VI and all, where you get that same style trying to come out, and that influence is there, but we just have to find a way how to better package it and for it to be able to create a brand around it so people can identify it easily. For example, we would have had many songs to come out of St. Kitts, and one of the things that you could identify easily is the use of the cowbell. So we know as an association we would have to take put it under a microscope and define the key elements of our style so that we could actually create the definition of what the style is. So, and that is something that we would not just get up and say, this is just it. We could also look at it and decide how we could improve it, how we could simplify it, how we could make it sound better, how we could do all those things to package it and sell it. So that's just to add to that.
We'll take 2 more questions and then we'll have to round up.
Okay, well, I'll ask you 2.
No problem.
One has to do with and going back to something you said earlier, will the Band Association be looking to meet with or have a formal relationship with the copyright organization, ECHO? Because of course, they have been championing the cause for its members. So I'm taking it that you will have members who will be members of ECHO, et cetera, et cetera. So if you could speak to that. And the other question has to do with the what plans does the Band Association have to, how to put it? You're looking to promote St. Kitts music, the sound, the specific sound, but how do you intend to do that in the midst of all of the genres and style of soca that exists? Of course, Trinidad being the birthplace, they have more prominence in a sense. How do you intend to, because again, you have other forms of soca, you talk about booyah, and different parts of the Caribbean, you have different sounds. So how do you intend to sort of surpass all of the challenge of dealing with all the other sounds of soca and to make St. Kitts sound more prominent above the others?
In relation to ECHO, we have a very close relationship, and ECHO is a protection of our music. So certainly, we'll be a part of ECHO. In relation to competing with the other forms or the other Caribbean genres that are already out there, and as you say, especially soca, which is the pinnacle at this point, we are not saying that we're going to reach the pinnacle immediately, but we are going to make our presence felt. As a matter of fact, our music is already out there. That is why GrandMasters, NuVybes, Small Acts travel around. And the reason why they bring us here is to hear our music. That's the reason why they bring us to those islands. But we have not worked hard enough, as we said, to establish it. So we do not think it would be difficult it would be difficult to break through. Being the pinnacle, it is not going to easily surpass soca, because most persons figure that all of the other Caribbean genres patterned in some form from the Trinidad soca. Most. As a matter of fact, if I was to take you way back, as we call it, way back, the bands like to use that term, we're going to take you back, way back. Long ago, even though we had great bands like the GI Brass and so on, that did all these great arrangements, the arrangements was not done on a music that was produced in St. Kitts. It was Trinidad music. Sometimes it was some form of jazz or R&B or zouk that was rearranged and transformed. We actually established this style in the late 80s going into the 90s, Wilders. And that came about with the invention of the electronic, the electronic rhythms, right? Yeah, the electronic percussions. Well, we call it the rhythm box. The electronic percussions. So no more percussionists or the manual percussionists had to exert all that energy. And so the tempo increased. Because manually, one could not keep that form of tempo and exist consistently. And we, in St. Kitts Nevis, has exploited the percussion and made our music more rhythmic than any other form of Caribbean music. And that is why it has this identity, and it will sell once promoted efficiently.
Just to add to that, I think not really to compete, but the competition starts with us in terms of what we are trying to accomplish with our pinnacle, in terms of our brand of music and sound, foremost. To add to that, we, like Ringo said, like our music is very rhythmic. I could remember like years ago doing music festival down Fort Thomas, and you know, I met Nicholas Branco. I think at that time he was the manager for Crossfire, and it was like, you know, like y'all style, like sound, but it's just fast. And we got that a lot, but if you realize over the years, the same tempo has been raised by Trinidad artists. The tempo is not what it used to be. So in that sense, I think all we need to do is keep on chopping, believe in what we are doing, believe in, you know what I mean? Be consistent, keep on chopping, and that pinnacle will soon be in reach without we even seeing it happening. I'm not saying it's going to be overnight success, of course, but that's why I say consistently working hard towards achieving that. One more question.
I want to take up what he said earlier. Miguel Leibert. You're talking about the speed, the music, and I was saying one of the things that we have here that you can distinguish Kittitian music with is the speed. And you're talking about going back. So let's go back a bit. Back in the 70s, when you had our percussion section, it was fast. I mean, the guys just beat the hell out of the drums, the timbales, the steel, and it became fast. It became faster when the rhythm box was introduced. But it has not changed, because that really has been our style. Now, we know that we had the high tempos and the lows. We would say when we had the low tempo, you ain't gonna fight in the band. And when you start to pick up the speed, hands start to flow, then you got the fight. But if you continue holding the rhythm part of it, that becomes our own signature. I know that you will recall that a lot of times other islands used to wait until Carnival in St. Kitts is over because they were trying to figure out what our music is going to be. And our music, not just Trinidad music has changed ours, our music, but we have also changed the other islands' music. What we have not done is transform it into a point where you can say, okay, I hear the beat, I could hear the beat in somebody else's music. It's like the failure of Cadre. Cadre was a good beat, but it failed to hold. Always a holding. We just have to make sure it don't fail. A couple of years back, we had an interview with you, and I asked you the question of our lyrics. And the statement you responded to was that is what the fans want. My response to that was, but you write the music, your fans don't be around when you write the music. Right? So the thing is, the bands have to shape our music, not the fans. The band shaped the music. I mean, you guys did a hell of a job in the 80s and the 90s. I am not saying you ain't doing nothing right now. You're still doing it because I got old molasses head. She ain't no longer sugar head. Right? But when you listen to the music, and the last night I was listening to one of your lives back in Europe, I think you did something in, oh shit, I forgot the name. You guys went there too.
Belgium.
Right. And I'm listening to the music and I'm saying if more of our bands can get on that stage and present our music, and it's something I noted. When our bands are out, we don't play each other's music. We stick to playing our own thing. But we have then an opportunity to introduce the rest of our music to the rest of the world. And that is something I would like to see in upcoming years. God still like us still here. That we incorporate the other band's music. And yes, I'm going to talk about collaborations. It'll be nice to hear small acts on a NuVybes album. Or on a stage, together.
Well, we already on a stage.
Well, yeah. And I concur with your sentiments.
All right, gentlemen, that's all.
Okay, at this point in time, we like to thank the listening public locally, regionally, and internationally for tuning in to this our first St. Kitts Band Association press conference. And we look forward to meeting you in different areas of the media in the future. Good night, good afternoon, good evening to everyone in relation to wherever you may be.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this evening's press conference to a close, I want to sincerely thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the Band Association for being here. Thank you to the media for asking questions. And we wish the association every success as they continue on their journey. Thank you so much.